All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are tackling a massive, incredibly relevant chapter today, solid waste management. I am so excited to walk you through this material because we're going to take a highly structured, comprehensive look at exactly what waste is, where it goes, and how we have to handle it. We'll be taking it from a macro global crisis level all the way down to the micro level of your own kitchen bin. We're breaking down all the key concepts, definitions, and terms you need to really master this topic, so get ready to dive in.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for today. We'll start with the solid waste crisis, move into defining and classifying waste, track the life cycle and disposal trends, look at household separation, and wrap it all up with composting solutions.
Section 1, the solid waste crisis. Let's look at the global scale.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. What actually happens when our waste has nowhere left to go? It's so easy to just toss something away and completely forget about it. But away is a real physical place, and those places, they're filling up fast. And that is leading to some seriously severe real-world consequences for both our environment and our health. Take a look at this satellite view of the Dion, our dumping ground. You see that massive, sweeping white cloud just completely obscuring the landscape? Yeah, that is a gigantic smoke plume rising straight up from burning waste. This is not just some local nuisance. This macro view from space really shows us the staggering scale of the pollution happening right now. When you have millions of tons of unsegregated waste just sitting in open dumps, it generates hazardous gases, it catches fire, and it sends massive amounts of toxic smoke directly over densely populated areas. And this brilliantly illustrates what that exact same crisis looks like on the ground. We go from that sterile, distant view from space straight into the harsh, burning reality of a literal garbage mountainside. Open dumping and the fires that spark up from it, whether they're spontaneous or intentional, pose an intense environmental danger. I mean, it contaminates the air we breathe, it poisons the soil we rely on, and it really highlights a system that is fundamentally breaking down. Moving on to Section 2, defining and classifying waste. Let's get into waste classification.
First up, what exactly is solid waste? Broadly speaking, it comprises all the waste arising from human and animal activities. But the absolutely crucial point here is this fascinating economic definition. It is solid material possessing a negative economic value. Think about that for a second. It literally just means that right now, it's cheaper to discard the material than it is to actually use it. Waste isn't just a physical state, it's an economic equation.
Now, let's drill down into two terms that people use interchangeably all the time but absolutely shouldn't. I'm talking about refuse and garbage. Actually, refuse is a much more appropriate scientific term for general solid waste because a lot of it is utilizable. It's essentially misplaced raw material just waiting for a new industrial purpose. Garbage, on the other hand, very specifically refers to kitchen or wet waste. You know, your food scraps and organic biological matter.
And we can categorize solid waste even further to help guide our management strategies. Rubbish refers specifically to wastes that have a high ash content. Scrap is waste with a high metal content, which means these are materials that are often highly recyclable and pretty valuable. And debris refers to bulky waste, specifically the stuff coming from construction and demolition sites. Getting these exact classifications right ensures that municipal planners know exactly how to treat and transport different materials. Then, of course, we have hazardous wastes. These are dangerous or at least potentially harmful to our health or the environment. Hazardous waste is categorized by its primary dangerous properties: corrosivity, flammability, reactivity, and toxicity. And right beneath those umbrellas, we have subcategories like chemicals, biological waste, radioactive materials, and explosives. And please remember, we aren't just talking about heavy industrial byproducts here. Discarded commercial products like paints, batteries, and cleaning solvents from your very own home fall directly into these hazardous categories and require special handling.
Section 3, life cycle and disposal trends. Where does waste actually go? Let's see how all this builds into the functional elements of municipal solid waste management. There are three main functional steps. First, generation and storage. That's just you putting waste in a bin at home or at work. Second is collection and transportation. Now, here's a vital fact you should definitely remember. This second step is actually the major budgetary expenditure of municipal operations. Just moving the waste around our cities costs an absolute fortune. And third is treatment and disposal, where the waste is finally processed, recycled, or buried. But how are we actually disposing of it in the real world? Well, looking at the disposal trends in India for the years 2001 and 2005, there is an overwhelming standout.
Those massive bars on the far left represent open dumping. It consistently accounts for over 60% of disposal, vastly overshadowing engineered landfilling, composting, and incineration. This heavy, really problematic reliance on open dumping is exactly what causes the environmental disasters and toxic smoke plumes we looked at earlier in the explainer.
Section 4. Household separation, sorting at the source.
Seeing a standard blue bin next to a yellow bin represents source segregation. Separating dry materials like your plastics, paper, cardboard, and e-waste into one stream and wet organic garbage into another is the single most critical first step in the entire management lifecycle. It's how we prevent contamination and basically turn waste back into refuse that actually has positive economic value. Because when you diligently separate your waste, it directly supports the complex municipal collection system. For example, municipal transport trucks are often built with completely separate painted compartments for gila, or wet waste, and suka, or dry waste. If we mix our waste at home, these trucks just become giant blenders of contaminated, unusable garbage. But if we separate it, we empower the entire city's recycling and treatment infrastructure to operate efficiently.
And finally, Section 5, composting solutions. Let's look at some regenerative solutions. We're going to focus on the science of aerobic composting. This is the biological decomposition of waste in a warm, moist, and oxygen-rich environment. That oxygen is the absolute key here. It allows aerobic microbes to flourish and break down the organic waste at a much, much quicker pace. This process also requires agitation and aeration, which just means mixing the compost up, to produce a highly consistent and uniform end product. It's essentially supercharging nature's own recycling system. And if we want to take things a step further, there is vermicomposting. Yep, we are literally putting worms to work for us to process waste. The agricultural benefits here are just fantastic. Vermicomposting increases crop fertility and the overall health of the soil. It increases the soil's moisture retention, and it drastically boosts the nutrient value of the organic waste. So a little help from our invertebrate friends turns your kitchen food scraps into high-value fertilizer for agriculture. Pretty cool, right?
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. You now know the journey. You know the specific scientific definitions of what you throw away. You understand the staggering municipal costs of collection, and you've seen the harsh environmental realities of open dumping. Knowing all of this, how will you change what you discard tomorrow? Every single piece of refuse is a choice, and source segregation is the key to fixing the crisis. I hope this explainer has empowered you with the exact knowledge you need to make the right choice. Thanks so much for learning with me today.